Future generations will be told about the Lord. They will proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn. The way we reach the nations around this planet is by preparing our kids and equipping our kids, every generation, every emerging generation, spending money, buildings, lands.
I believe every decision my parents made was 100% generational. With Jesus being the head of the church, and we always have known that, one of the biggest statements of success for our church has been that it's all about families in every aspect. Whether you're a single, whether you have a family, whether you don't, you can find family at church. And that's what the beautiful thing is with the way that it's been led for the last 28 years.
My dad was always about family, including the family, but also whatever he and my mom were, striving to do or a next thing or, just the way they included from generation to generation.
Psalm 145:4 says, one generation shall declare his works to the next. And God's a generational thinker.
Yeah.
I think too often we want things in our time, quick, now, convenience. But Leon truly wasn't self-focused, he was God-focused, Holy Spirit-focused, which allowed him to not just think about the here and now and the immediate return, but what are we building for the future.
I can clearly remember every single building we were in, even though I was young. I was 9, I think, when we started out at St. Mary's, and Mom and Dad were always so creative with how they solved growth problems. They always had that attitude and attracted team and people that thought that way, right? We went from St. Mary's, which was like a 300 to 400 seater, and then we went to Transcona, which was well over 1,000. So it was the first building we were in that was like, whoa, this is a big building. Like, can we fill this? And we did, and people had to park off the lot, and and then La Jamodier building that building and seeing it now today and knowing like we've pretty much outgrown it. Like, we got to keep thinking of the future, and then there's just been so many good things. Calgary and all that God's done through Inner City and through Selkirk and Steinbach.
You can look around and see that we've been good stewards, and you can see that the vision has always been big, and we didn't just build to fit what we could expect. We build to fit more than what we would expect, because God is a God of increase and he wants people to know him. He wants people to experience heaven.
I think in the past year, for those who questioned maybe what our future looked like without Dad, Pastor Leon, I don't think you really knew what he was all about. If you knew him, you knew that he had a plan. You knew that he was always continually building into us, all of the kids, but also into the church and into the staff.
I think because of that, over the last year, you've seen extraordinary growth.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like, I often would just joke and saying, people are just coming to see if we screw it up. But you can't explain it. It's that in a time when you lose your general, it's potentially crippling to a church, right? But it wasn't. In fact, you saw an acceleration over the last year. When you look in services and you see standing room only, when you have special Sundays and we've got max cars in the parking lot, you look at SCA and you look at the leadership that's happened there in the last 4 years and 5 years and shifts that have taken place, and now you fast forward 4 is that you're bursting at the seams. We're building portables to house students. We have to build a brand new building just to house our high school.
This past year is a shining example of the fact that when you humble yourself to God and you say, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Like, Dad just went to be with Jesus. How are we gonna do this? And you just say, okay, Lord, I don't know how we're gonna do this. We're just gonna keep setting our eyes on you and believing you for everything that you are, and not, changing our beliefs. And looking back on the year, we didn't do anything to cause it to grow. We just loved God, worshiped him, we pointed people to him, and God brought the increase.
When my mom and dad
got 595 set up and built. He truly looked at that land as a huge place that he could continue to build on.
Yeah, the vision was so big.
It was.
For him, though.
And every time he would bring up, like, well, we're gonna build something over here, and then we're gonna add a school over here. And this is so many years ago. In your head, you're like, wow. But now to see the fruition and for it to come the way he spoke it, it's beautiful.
The Bible says this one line that I think about all the time, and it says to look at things that are not and see them as though they were. When Leon would walk the property, we did in COVID, we did this walking path around the back of 595, and it's just this beautiful path for people to get out and get exercising, and there'd be Christmas lights, but I'd often find him actually walking it. He'd walk it on his own, and whenever I'd ask him about what he was doing, he just said, I was praying over the whole site, over everything we do, and just dreaming and envisioning the future to come for this property.
Last year, before my dad passed away, he was working on a new school building that we wanted to build in order to literally just be able to house the amazing influx of numbers that is coming down the pipe. So we are going to be starting a building campaign next year to fund this most amazing building to continue to disciple the next generation of students from pre-K all the way up to grade 12. We are very excited about this as we continue to step out what God has for us. Give Jesus a hand. Our discipleship of this next generation is so incredibly important. Imagine every year people graduating out of grade 12, out of a Christian school, and going into the marketplace, going into politics, going into business with the love of Christ within them. It's something that will change this world, change this nation, and change every city in Canada, and I don't even want to say just Canada. It'll change every city in the world, this school, and what we're continuing to do as a church.
Welcome to the new home of Springs Christian Academy, a state-of-the-art facility offering the best in Christian education. With its strong horizontal lines, the design of the building is modern and striking. Warm construction materials and lush landscaping create an inviting atmosphere, drawing you to the large entrances. With separate access points for both our middle school and high school, the property is expertly designed for traffic and flow. Behind the structure are redeveloped sport fields and a playground that continue the same thoughtful planning throughout. This isn't just another building, but a spiritual stake in the ground as we literally and figuratively build the future.
When I hear build the future, I feel like it's another way of saying the best is yet to come. But it puts action to the best is yet to come, because faith always involves movement, it involves change, it involves focus and knowing where you're going. And so I love that build the future, that build is an action word, that we are putting our hands to something, and God blesses the work of our hands.
As a parent, something that's, I think, a deep-seated worry is what's our kids being taught? What's being given to them? When I'm at work working and I can't look and see what's happening to my kids behind my back, what's being pushed? And I think it's scary. When you start to actually dig in and see what's happening in the world, it's really, really scary. There's an enemy out there, and the most efficient way he can get at us is our kids. And so this is a direct response to that. We are not giving our kids to the enemy. No. We are defending that. We are building the future, and we're giving them a solid Christian foundation. And that's why the phrase building the future is exactly that.
These are leaders that are going to be influencing our marketplace. They're going to become teachers. They're going to go in the medical system. We are showing a generation that you don't have to start at ground zero. You don't have to go through all the pain and the heartache that maybe their parents or their grandparents went through to find the Lord. You get to have a story that is strengthened and equipped from God from the very beginning.
I've been working at SCA for a long time, but before I would be in different schools for various reasons. And so I've seen both sides. I've seen many different types of schools. And I think what we have here is very special just because it allows kids to be kids. It gives kids truth, biblical foundation. And I think that there's something so special about that in today's day and age. You kind of feel like you're in the best bubble possible. I know that this building is going to become increasingly more special and beneficial for kids just as the world is changing. And I think grasping onto that and not letting that go is going to be something so just necessary for our future.
The attention to detail brought to the exterior of the building continues inside. A wide corridor attached to the north entrance of our 595 facility leads directly to the school's arts wing, where you'll find a spacious library with large windows. Down this hallway are also art rooms, band and choir rooms, and film and media spaces where students will get the chance to learn on the latest production equipment. Both the high school entrance and the middle school entrance converge at the Agora, the heart of the building, a showstopper in both architecture and function. The Agora is a large open space connecting to many other areas in the building. In the Agora, students will be able to eat lunches from the full-service cafeteria and study and socialize on large tiered staircases. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows at the rear of the space invite natural light, creating a warm and welcoming environment. The second floor mezzanine offers even more space for socializing and gathering, but the Agora won't be used just for the school. The church will have the ability to host hundreds of people here for team meetings, courses, special events, and conferences. Springs kids will also find their home in this building on Sundays. With the direct link to our 595 facility, this will eliminate the need for busing students from one building to another. Another standout feature of the building is the triple-wide gymnasium, complete with huge locker rooms and bleacher-style seating. This expansive space, normally found in university-level athletic facilities, will instantly make Springs a much sought-after sports destination. It will allow us to host top-tier tournaments and other large-scale events, bringing the unchurched through our doors in unprecedented ways. A brand new fitness center is located down the hall from the gymnasium, filled with an amazing assortment of exercise equipment needed to support our growing sports programs. The building also boasts a second floor filled with multiple classrooms, including modern chemistry and biology labs, and ample room to grow as the school and church continue to expand. Partner with us and build the future as we commit like never before to reaching the next generation.
Leon wanted everything to be together, you know what I mean? Like,
It had to be attached.
we went
Which
to
is great.
Springs School all our lives, and we were at Uville, and Uville is our high school campus right now. But the fact that our elementary, junior, senior, everything is going to be in one place, and I just love that. That was literally his dream at one point. Like, I want to see it all come together in one spot. If there could be a little window in heaven that he got to peek out and see what we've done, and with this high school and with this building, he would just be smiling from ear to ear.
Today I'm with Mike Zaman, who is the CFO of Springs Church, and Mike has worked with my parents for 20 years. Mike, you've been behind the scenes, but the amount of help you've done for this church in the financial side of it has been exponential. Why don't you give a little perspective on your 20 years behind the scenes, but with the finances of the church?
It's actually surprisingly easy to talk about the last 20 years working for Pastors Leon and Sally. They always valued financial stewardship and financial wisdom. Although the leadership team hated debt, there were times where the strategic decision was made, like, we're not going to slow down this growth. We got to go. If that means borrowing money, we're going to do that. When the debt did exist, every effort was made to pay it down as quickly as possible, sometimes even paying down $1 million in a year. Leon and Sally made decisions that set us up to be wise master builders. For example, how many churches leaders buy 100 acres when the immediate need isn't there?
Like where 595 is right now.
100%.
Is it 100 acres or a little more?
Well, if you include Golf Line, we've got approximately 110. So visionary and generational leaders think, look, and plan into the future, even when that need isn't there. Pastors Leon and Sally always thought generational.
Even this last year, it was a crazy year, of course, and that's for family, for staff, for everyone who knew my dad. And there was something about the year that seemed to go through an emotional roller coaster, of course, where you have grief, you have sadness, you have frustration, but at the other side you have joy, you have growth, you have just even deeper faith. And I it was a really cool this last year because talking about debt, we were able to talk to the board and inform the board this last year that we were actually debt-free. Springs Church as a whole was debt-free. So in the midst of what some people would describe as our pain and grief, we were able to give some of the most amazing news ever to the board of this church.
Yeah, it was a very surreal moment. It was kind of joy and sadness in the same time, because you're looking at this going, this is a win. And so, but in the middle of this, you're grieving. And so God was always faithful, and I love that part. As a matter of fact, you know, when we're planning this building, Leon asked and said, you know what, how much will this building cost? And for the first time in 20 years, I didn't actually answer Leon with my accounting hat on. Without being able to stop myself, I looked him straight in the eye and I said, we're doing this debt-free. The people are going to see the impact of future generations and make this dream a reality. I then told him the cost, because I always found it's best to answer your boss's questions.
That seems like wisdom.
But he took on what I said, and he didn't even hesitate. He's like going, yeah, we've always been a multi-generational church. We've got to reach the next generation, and this is the next phase to doing that. And so he got on board right away. So it was a really cool conversation to have. It was a great memory I'll never forget.
We've seen so much growth in every area of our church and school in this last little bit, and that's what pushed us to make this big decision. Leon to make this big decision about this building.
Well, let's be realistic. This is going to be the biggest capital campaign we're ever going to undertake.
Yep.
And after I said it, I almost jumped out of my own skin and said, who is that guy? What did he just say?
Yeah.
But Leon always taught us that our words have power. And without realizing it, I think in that moment, it was a really cool prophetic thing to say, because instead of being the numbers and rational guy that I was seeing the end result already. And so, no, that certainly wasn't in character for me. But at the same time, it was God saying, no, you know what? I've got you guys. I've got your back on this. You're doing what I've asked you to do. I'm going to provide.
And you were a part of campaigning for giving towards this building. I remember you telling me about something that really tugged on your heartstrings was the nameplates, right?
Yeah. Back when we were campaigning for 595, we moved into this building, 595, in 1999. So we would have been campaigning a couple of years just before that. And my wife and I were just a young couple. You know, we were just like anybody else. We were budgeting and fighting to make ends meet. And we actually made the decision, we're going to give to this campaign. And we did. We gave till we gulped. I mean, that was something that Leon talked about later. But early in our marriage, we gave till we gulped. And we actually delayed a first vacation, hotspot vacation that we were kind of talking about. And back then they talked about, you know what, we're going to put your nameplates in the foundation of this building. And you know what, that was kind of cool and everything else, and never really thought anything more about that. But then roll around to 2002 when I start working here, and within a couple of months of working here, I see this pile of pictures, and I flip through this pile of pictures, and here's the names of all the people that had donated to the 595 campaign. And here's the names, and I found our nameplates.
Oh, wow.
Man, that messed with me. I thought, you know, this wasn't a fundraising gimmick. It was a physical token of what was happening in the spiritual realm. And I literally had tears streaming down my face, because I thought, you know, every person that ever gave their life to Christ, every person that was healed, every person that had their marriage or relationships restored, we had a place in that. And spiritually, we were a part of that. And so even though it was a token of a nameplate in the foundation, it just so rang so true with us. And I'll never forget that.
You helped lay the foundation.
100%.
Every donation does.
100%.
And that goes on to this new campaign that we're putting up now. It's like we want to do that same thing. We want to continue to have a system in place where it's like, depending on what your donation that you feel called to as a family or as an individual or as a married couple, as a businessman or woman, wherever you are, We want to be able to do that same thing. We're thinking about doing bricks that have your name on it. We're thinking of doing, like we said, the nameplates and the foundation. That's something that's huge. And there's going to be quite a few foundational pillars in this building as far as I've heard. So there's lots of opportunity for us to continue to put these nameplates down there and take those pictures. So hopefully thousands of people can have that same exact feeling that you got, where they look at it and they go, whoa, this is so much bigger than just a donation.
If there's ever been a time to invest in something for your future and for the future of your kids or grandkids or others around you, I think now's the time.
If you're part of this family, every time we feel that God's calling us to build somewhere, it's an opportunity for every single one of us to practice what we preach. And to like, if you believe it, then you do it. And so it's like, if we believe in the future, if we believe in the next generation, if we believe that not only, do we have a school in Winnipeg and we're growing, one day we're gonna have a school in Calgary. If you believe that, then you're gonna show up and be like, I'm gonna do my part.
When it comes to giving, a lot of people just feel like, if I don't give a large chunk, it doesn't matter. If I don't give $1 million, if I don't give $1,000, if I don't give $100, it doesn't matter. But I don't think we should underestimate the power of just giving what we can, even if it's $20. If 2,000 people gave $20, that's a significant amount of money.
Every person counts. We need to come together as a church and see the amazing things that God has planned.
If it's God's will, it's God's bill. And it's not just a play on words, we mean that. We truly mean that. But the only way God can work is through people.
Yeah.
And we need believers and people to go, ask Holy Spirit, what do you want me to do? Holy Spirit, if you're asking me to give, then Holy Spirit, I give you my finances. Lead my world. Get me to a place where I can give so courageously.
God's given me the ability and the power to build and to create, but He's also given me the breath in my lungs. So all that to say, God has given me everything. So everything I have is already His. How cheap would I have to be to not want to give God back just a little bit in that? And I think really the deeper thing is that having this concept and knowing that money is just a tool that God can use is really pursue God, pray, and ask Him what He's placing in your spirit to give over and above.
I think you're more fulfilled too. When you're a giver and you're not just a taker, and you come going, what can I do? Yeah. Dad said it a lot, rolling up your sleeves and coming in and being home. You get way more. It's way more rewarding for you.
Sow little, reap little. If you're putting your money into His kingdom, He is going to bless you out of His kingdom.
As a church, we are taking a huge step of faith. This is such a tangible way to see the goodness of God. When we get the money in, when the building's built, and when we hear the testimonies and the stories from it, you can't dispute that. That's God's goodness and that's God's grace.
You know, Mike, through the last few months of going through all these building meetings and architects, there's something a quote that you've said a few times. We can't steal from Peter to pay Paul. What do you mean by that?
Well, I wish I could take credit for that quote, but I can't. Every campaign we've ever had, Leon used that quote.
Oh, okay.
And so basically what that means is, I alluded to earlier, this is going to be the biggest campaign we've ever undertaken.
Yeah.
We have a campaign goal of $30 million. Our annual budget is somewhere between $11 and $12 million.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes just to run the church.
Yeah.
So out of that, we pay for the youth ministry, we pay for kids ministry, we pay for inner city ministry, and everything we've got going on in our facilities, salaries, everything else. So if people stop giving to the regular giving, they're stealing from Peter to pay Paul. And in this case, Paul is the campaign. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is we need to actually have people give over and above their tithes and make that happen. We need to have Peter still stay good, and we need to have Paul be paid.
Yes. That's exactly how it should be. I think that's a really funny way of saying it. And it's true. Like we need to continue to push this ministry forward while building for the future. You know, with this big number, Mike, we've talked about how we know full well there are going to be some people that step up and go, I want to give $100,000 to this. I want to give $1 million to this. But it's not just about those massive donations either.
Oh my goodness, no. For this campaign to be successful, we need everybody at the grassroots level doing something. Mm-hmm. They need to go home, talk to their family, make sure everybody is on board, pray about it, and come back and fulfill their give till they gulp for that person.
Yep.
And the tangible side for us in the finance department is that we're gonna have to work very closely with the bank as we do bridge financing and builder financing to pull this off. And it helps us plan the cash flows, know what's planning to be coming in, so we can be good stewards, and as we can plan what we need to maybe go to the bank for to do that bridge financing.
Absolutely, and so we need to know what people are going to commit to because of that.
Correct.
Yeah, totally, and I love that. That's something we can always do. And you know, as me and Mike have talked, we've talked about being debt-free, and being debt-free allows us to work from a position of strength with the bank for our bridge financing, as Mike just said. We have shown a strong track record of paying debt down rapidly. Having been debt-free allowed us to put more money into savings while planning this build. I know there are some of you out there and God's put it on your heart to give $100,000, and we need givers like you. And I know there are some of you even out there that want to give $1 million, and God's asking you to give that. And I want to challenge you to answer the call and say yes to God. Here's how you can practically take part in this campaign. Fill out this commitment card. This is so important because it gives us a tangible way, as Mike was saying, to track our giving. For your budgeting purposes, there are breakdowns provided for different amounts inside the commitment card. Fill this out and send it in by February 18th, 2024. We even know that a part of your community, you have many people in your community right now that don't come to church, that their kids don't go to SCA. And we know that even if they have never darkened the door of our school or our church, that they're gonna give towards this campaign. So you go and campaign to your friends, your family, your community, everyone that you have in your circle, because we know God is gonna do big things through all of us and everyone that we know. We love you, we're excited for this, and we are just pumped to build this building.